This is a little different setup than what maybe you're usually seeing. Oh, hey, it's Carlos.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So
You're in
we're
my chair,
I'm
buddy.
in your chair, doctor.
we're still being joined by
Uh,
Dr. Brown, except he's not in Washington D.C. right now. He's actually in Istanbul in Turkey. And so we've been able to set up a little Zoom meeting with him, and we're going to bring him to you kind of in a live scenario. We've got some foot traffic, some boats going on behind, some birds flapping and flying. It's the real Turkish experience. So let's roll our Earnest Medicine intro, and then we'll kick it off and show you where Dr. Brown is. All right, so let's kick it over to Dr. Brown and let him take it away. We've been having some steady communication over the course of his time there in Turkey, but now we're going to bring him to you here on the screen. So, hey, what's up, Dr. Brown?
Hey, yeah, no, you're going to see a lot of traffic. Istanbul is a very busy place, and the water here, all the ferries going by, it's just nonstop. And then at midnight, it all stops. It's all quiet. But during the day, it's a major mode of transportation. So it's been fascinating. So you'll see a lot of that, and you'll see a few birds circling around my head. And you'll have a few others this is like a prime spot to take some photos. So you'll definitely see a few people behind me as well. But really the experience, again, this is kind of retracing my own origin. This is kind of my own story, that of my mom coming from Istanbul to the United States. Growing up, I didn't really fully understand or appreciate kind of that culture. And coming here now, at this age, it's an appreciation for the history, for the culture that my mom was from, and respecting that. But also, it's in a sense a chance to rediscover medicine. The big thing for myself right now is, kind of a disillusionment with medicine back in the United States. So it's kind of refreshing to see, and some of these experiences I'll be able to share when I get back. But it's inspiring, to say the least. It's given me a renewed sense of purpose. It's also given me a sense of kind of opening up international connections, which we will certainly do in future episodes. The plan is to come back out here. We will be hosted both privately and publicly. We would hope that, even with this podcast now, that to show that what we're trying to achieve is to tell stories. I keep telling that to every person that I meet. They're thinking I'm here to sell something, or I'm here to take something, and it's like, no. All we want are stories, because that's where the richness, I think, is. Medicine is very much about relationships, and relationships are about the stories and experiences that we all share. Without that, then it's possible for healthcare, which is the business of all of this, to kind of take over. And very much so, you have these, the fascinating thing is this is socialized medicine, that there isn't a sense of profit to be gained off of physicians such as myself or of patients. I literally went into a hospital 2 days ago and was watching the process in a medical oncology department, where there was a physician there assisting the patients directly, and seeing the smile on the face of the patients and then of the physician. I was just like, we don't get this. We don't get this back in the United States. And I'm like, why? And I that was one of the big things for me, was to talk to the other physicians, and some language barrier, but still, why did they become a physician? What's it like being a physician? Do they understand what their system is compared to the U.S.? I think there's certainly a lot of opportunities to share stories and experiences. But walking these streets, we've got some pretty good footage to hopefully provide viewers a sense of you can never capture this enough because of all the history and those sorts of things. But I'm excited to be able to forge some of those relationships now and explore them moving forward. But yeah, no, it's been a great experience. Can't wait to get back.
Doc, where are you located right now?
So right now I'm on the Bosphorus. That's what all the heavy traffic is. In Istanbul, Turkey, which is some people mistaken that as the capital. Ankara is actually the capital of Turkey. But Istanbul, when my mom was here and left at the age of 30 in 1960, the population here was about 1.2 million in all of Istanbul. Now, since then, it's at roughly 20 million. So it's significantly increased. If you were to compare that to like New York City, which at that time at 1960 was 5 million, and now it's grown to 36 million. You can see how things have just kind of grown. And that begs the question, when a population surges like this over time, how do we ensure the health and well-being of everyone? And it's compared from a socialized medicine to that of really a for-profit model. And even when I was talking to the physicians here, I was asking them, well, how much does your country spend on healthcare? And theirs is about 4%. And I begged them to, answer this question. And they're not economists, they're not financial people, but I said it was about 20%. And you could immediately see that, why? Why would it be? That doesn't make any sense, So we'll be able to come back and explore that more, certainly with the help of, others like the Minister of Health or any other entities that might be able to help forge some understanding of this, with the hope that we might be able to shed some light on, all the profit and greed off of the blood, sweat, and tears of, our countrymen and women. Something's got to stop. I keep saying I'm kind of like the Lorax, and it's unless these things, somebody really cares a lot, it's not going to get better. So I'm not here to be anything more than just kind of a guide, somebody to just be an observer, for people to have their own perspectives, to be able to take experiences from this and maybe forge their own understanding of things. And meanwhile, this man right here is smoking. Stop that. Stop that, sir. That's not good for you.
Little puff on the cigarette. Well, with the Nora podcast that was released, kind of talking about medical tourism and how accessible that is for people, even though they may not realize it, and what you're doing there, I think hopefully, open some eyes and really get people to see that it's like, this is very possible for you. Mm-hmm. That's right. It's a 10-hour flight, as you said, from DCA. Yeah. It's right there.
Yeah. I mean, we'll be looking at education. We had some discussions with physicians about their education. We'll be talking about the economics. We'll be talking about the socialized medicine aspect versus, the for-profit. And medical tourism, which, Turkey is certainly, I can't tell you how many hair transplants I've seen walking around Istanbul. It's just like, oh God, it looks so painful. And it is very well known for that. And, but more importantly, it's other things are coming, like oncology, cancer treatment, top notch. Met with the physicians myself. I actually have some footage of interacting with them with the devices that they're using for radiation oncology, and again, it's so many different things. Obviously there will be the hair transplants, but and the plastic surgeries and the teeth and those sorts of things. But it certainly opens up for orthopedics. Certainly opens it up for oncology, which we know in the U.S. is a huge cash cow. And there was even a discussion, well, how does insurance play in all of this? Sure. And it was a fascinating discussion about, well, if you, Blue Cross Blue Shield said, hey, you could go to Istanbul for 2 weeks and we'll pay for the flight. And then Blue Cross Blue Shield still pays maybe a tenth of what the cost would be in the US. I think insurance companies would probably be like, okay, let's do that. And that's not right. That's not the right. Where I certainly don't want this getting to the insurance companies and them saying, oh, okay, we're going to take it out of the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think certainly from the sense of Americans looking at this system, there might be of like, well, it's not good quality, or it's questionable, cultural differences, language differences, all of those things. But I think if you just open your mind enough and see the potential, it's there for sure.
Well, it's interesting because if more Americans or English-speaking people come to a country, then the country will cater to that demand, and there will be more translators available to be able to handle that language barrier. Are there any alternative medicine sort of things that you've seen so far? Out there?
There is a rich history in that sense of alternatives in a sense. They don't call it alternatives. In fact, they're very adamant it's not alternative. It's practice. What we consider alternative, they're like, this is not alternative. This is healthy, and it's you'll find that there are different places where they cater specifically towards health and wellness. Looking at nutrition, looking at meditation, looking at yoga. In fact, one of the gentlemen that I met here, he's actually going to go on a week-long yoga trip, self-meditation and those things in an area of Turkey that we'll also have access to. And I would hope to maybe go and experience that with him.
Yeah.
Cool.
That would be very, very exciting.
Yeah. No, it'll be good stuff. And you guys will be coming back with me the next time. So,
Heck
We'll
yes.
be coming. Yeah, I'll be traveling. I can't wait to see everything that Turkey has to offer. It looks like such a beautiful, beautiful city.
The one thing I would say for sure, Hammam, hammam. Before you die, you must experience a hammam. Or people will call it a Turkish bath, but you haven't lived until you've experienced it. It's just uncanny how it impacts your perspective of things.
Did you do one on the Strip?
I did 2. I might do one more. Before I go. I don't know. Yeah.
How can you walk us through what that is like?
So hammam is, it really is open for both sexes, and it's culturally part of this. And you'll have whole families that will go, and essentially it is a house facility where you have steam, sauna, and then a process by which they cleanse your body. So you're given a small little towel that you put on, and then you lay down, and then you'll have somebody who will actually soap you down and exfoliate, and then after that put on basically a mud bath, which you'll sit there, and then after that you'll get an opportunity to have some tea and something to eat, and then rest for about 10-15 minutes. I fell asleep immediately. And then you're able to, then you can get a massage after that. And I literally had, this 6'1" guy walking on my back. And I was like, and I didn't know it was going to happen. It just kind of happened. But accepting it and just going with it, it was a hoot. And I would say the one thing they asked is, you want cold water? And I thought they meant cold water to drink. No. Cold water they pour on you after you've been in that sauna for an extended period of time, and it was like, woo, wow, that woke me up. Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, I'm without a doubt, I'm like, why don't we have one in DC? I'm like,
That'd be a hit.
That would be cool if we could actually get that recorded. That would be amazing. That whole experience.
Yeah, so that is possible. We would just need to be able to go through. There are different hammams. There are the very traditional ones. That might be harder, but if we get some special permission, especially in presenting this to others to understand why we're doing this. We're not doing this for tourism. We're not doing this, to exploit, people's cultures. We're doing it to really just open people's minds and ideas to this kind of experience.
Yeah. Well, I got the chance to look at some of the photos that you submitted, and if you Google Turkey or Istanbul, there are some very similar scenes that you've been able to capture. The fishing lines over the railing, you've got the cityscape over the river. I mean, I feel like you've been able to get around pretty well. I wanted to ask also briefly, you had entertained the idea of getting a scooter whenever you were first going over, just because it makes getting around DC so easy. What's the public transportation like there for people? Like if you were performing as a house call doctor, could you zoom around or?
Yeah. I mean, they have a tram which will get you in far distances pretty quick. In terms of actually having your own private vehicle, that's kind of tricky. So I tried to rent 2 different scooters, the ones that you just scan a code and then you zip off. But unfortunately, the app didn't work well, and so I wasn't able to actually do that. But my hope is if we can get the the NAMI shipped over in advance, then I'll just now being mindful that it's kind of like you imagine driving in New York City or driving in DC, but it's a whole different experience driving in another country, especially places like Egypt and other places. It's just I do think there needs to be a certain sense of respect.
Yes.
And you know me on that scooter, I'll be flying, zipping around. And I've seen a few things. I saw an exchange going on. I was like, ooh, I got to get my Turkish up before I ride my NAMI. I'd be like, yeah. Yeah. No, it's just gorgeous. The sun's setting and things are quieting down. It's a great experience.
That's cool.
It looks beautiful, and I know Carlos has been excited to talk to you because you've been doing some research.
I did it just a tad.
Every time I talk to Carlos, he's like, "What, did you know this about Istanbul? Did you know this about Turkey?" So I feel like it's been an educational lesson for me, almost by proxy. I was curious if you had some follow-ups.
Well, I do have some follow-ups. Thanks, Sean. Well, fun fact that Istanbul used to be called Constantinople. And it was named Constantinople because it was named after the Roman Emperor Constantine, who was the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity.
Wow.
Right? But then the Ottoman Empire came in and said, oh, no.
Yeah.
And renamed it Istanbul. It's always been a hotbed, though, for trade because it gives you the connection between Europe and Asia, which is just, and it's interesting you made this comment, Dr. Brown, that people thought that you were coming there to sell something because traditionally it's been a trade route. So of course they think you're coming there to sell something.
That's true. And we have the bazaar, which for Americans, if we go to the mall, we'll see a price tag, right? We say, oh, that's what I know I'm going to pay. You go to a bazaar, it is a relationship of bartering that, will blow people's minds because, that's the culture. You argue over the price,
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
I love that. And since you brought up the bazaar, actually, so can you walk us through have you been to the bazaar?
Yeah, there is a general or grand bazaar, and then there is a spice bazaar. The grand bazaar is all kinds of different products, but it's 4,000 stores, 60,000 square meters.
The largest in the world. The largest in the world. Yeah.
And there's old structures. It goes back all the way, when the Ottomans took over the city, they had to create commerce, and the bazaar was where that was done, to boost the economy.
Right.
And just going through there, there's obviously, there's a lot of those who are trying to sell you things and, but I would say that one of the other striking things is that I felt perfectly safe wherever I went. Now, I was wearing my scrubs and it was fascinating. When I went through the bazaar, as I walked by, they were saying in Turkish, and I knew they were saying fake doctor. I was like, fake doctor? What do you mean? I was like, I wish I had a little bit more Turkish in me, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to, Who's fake now?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're gonna have a camera crew and all, so yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The food is amazing. You know, there's a certain sense of how to live. You know, I mean, it's a different experience.
So that's what I wanted to ask you about the food. So the quality of the food, the freshness of it, 10 times, 100 times better.
I mean, you have a tomato. You're like, okay, that's a tomato.
Sure.
Back home, you come here, tomatoes just like, it just explodes in your mouth. It's just like, and the fresh greens, the salads, the meats, you know, for those who eat meat, you know, it's you know, it's got this something about it, you know, but it's also, you know, again, a culture that's very, you know, rooted in food, you know, in health. And so you can tell there's a certain soul to how they prepare food, you know, and I would certainly want to explore that, you know, coming back, you know, what is it about it? You don't, I would have to say, you don't see, you'll see the striking difference between those who are obviously tourists, who are coming in, who are overweight, and then you see the Turkish people, none of them are overweight, none of them. And, you know, it's lifestyle, but, you know, something about that, you know, just rings, you know, it's almost like, you know, are we just cattle and they're just fattening us up, you know? But here, no. I think it's a variety of things, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I will say we are very excited, not just to have you back, but to have at least an opportunity to pick your brain further about this experience, because as you have talked about many times, as a preliminary trip, it's very important to sort of get the lay of the land and scout a little bit and sort of get your bearings. And as a sort of a final question, I wanted to ask you about your jet lag. I know we talked about with Dr. Jonathan Fields how traveling to Asia especially can be super taxing when it comes to jet lag.
Yep.
Did you have much to deal with there? Or?
So you have to prepare for it, and you know, I think the biggest thing is when you arrive, you have to power through until you can establish a normal sleep pattern. But I would say even like today, there's a certain sense of, you know, you may feel tired. It's a different tiredness than if you're back home. It's not jet lag, because I don't have jet lag anymore, but there's a certain level of tiredness. Maybe it's because I'm running around so much here trying to see things. But typically with jet lag, when you arrive, especially if you're going this direction, and there's a, you know, an 8-hour difference, then you're going to want to power through what normally be when you'd be asleep to their time, you know. So that would be like 10 o'clock would be 2 p.m. US, and you just got to push through and then knock yourself out. And then, you know, if you can, try to wake up regular time and power through it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool. One last thing I wanted to ask Doc to get
Go
a
for it.
picture of the golden horn. I hear that is just like amazing in terms of the sun reflecting off of the water, the way that.
Oh yeah, it's doing it right now. Right now, as you're saying that, if I could, it is, yeah. You can see the silhouette of the minarets and the mosque, the dome. I'm seeing Sultanahmet and all the birds and the fairies. I mean, it's like mystical, you know. Yeah, it's quite striking. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting close on our Zoom cap, but I wanted to say thanks to Dr. Brown, especially for taking about a half hour here with us to set up and come to you to Earnest Medicine's podcast from all the way around the globe in Turkey. And there's going to be
their phones taking photos and smoking.
Get a little wave.
Give him my card.
Well, I like your passion.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's actually been really cool to sort of people watch in the background as all these folks get on and off of those water taxis and ferries and whatnot.
We now actually have several people who are filming me as behind the laptop. They're filming me as I'm filming this. It's fascinating. Yeah.
There'll be more of that to come whenever we go back with you at some point here in the very near future to capture the stories in Turkey. But we want to sign off here on Earnest Medicine. We wanted to share this experience with you as Dr. Brown wraps up his trip in Istanbul and give you some of the sort of behind the scenes and real life experience that he's going through and living right now.
Yeah.
Getting the reflections of the golden horn on his face as we talk to him this evening.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
thanks for tuning into Earnest Medicine, and we'll have this out for you and more of Dr. Brown's personal images and footage for you to see very, very soon. Thanks again.
And if you happen to find any of this interesting, or more importantly, if you want to collaborate, check out the link below so that you can send us your comments, any stories you may have, anything. We're happy to entertain it. And this is really about us going on a journey together.